What's up, everybody? What's going on? Happy Thursday. What's up, Cheeseburger and Comics saying first, and hello to you as well. One slick dude who's saying greetings. How many books tonight? My shop is missing 4 books, so I have less this week.
I have 6.
You have 2 less than me. Yeah, I have 8 books this week. So let's jump right into it. Breen, did you get all your books?
Yep.
Alrighty then. Counting down from number 8.
I would have been on time, but I went to use the sink, and I had a cat all the way in it. So I had to wait for her to get done.
What you should do is hold your hands out, and the cat licks your hands.
What I should have done is turn the water on. That'd break her of that habit real quick.
Yeah, my number 8 for this week was Aquaman. It was okay book. I just didn't like the direction they're going, and I'm hoping this is not the final thing. They're actually going to go, because what they do to Mare in this book and everything, and like I said, it just felt, why? I hope this isn't a permanent thing, because I don't want grown-up Aqua daughter.
I don't think it is going to be.
No, I
hope. What I think is going to happen is they're going to find a way to de-age the people that need to be de-aged and keep the daughter, because that seems to be, adult children of superheroes seems to be the thing at DC now.
Like I said, I hope that in this book, like I said, I hope this is just kind of like a Jeremy Adams, and then he finds out when he finally goes home, he finds out that the physical Americans all time travel and all that stuff, that actually his children are back to, his wife and everything are back to being normal.
Well, I said they will be, but the daughter will still be an adult.
Yeah,
because I said every DC character has adult children now.
Yeah, and I'm kind of annoyed by
that. I'm not thrilled with that either. But
here's my thing: we age up Mara in this, or not Mara, but the daughter, and now she's a lesbian.
We don't know that.
DC's gonna do that. They do that.
Well, maybe whoever writes it after Jeremy Adams will.
That's what I mean. Look at John Kent and all that stuff. I'm gay now. What? Yeah. Anyway, we left off. They're in the blue and they're fighting. And then they're waiting for Gog or Daygog, whatever his name is, to show up. The team is Aquaman, Arian, Lady of the Lake, and Captain Nemo, and Zan. That's what his name is. Yeah. And basically,
the Wonder Twin.
Yeah, Zan. Get some fight scenes here going there. I mean, the art is pretty good. It's decent. And then Nemo actually gets to crash his ship through, killing something, destroying something.
Oh, they found him.
Yep. They're on board, and then they come across. They finally find Atlantis, only to find out that's not Mara. That's grown up Aqua daughter, which I even forgot her name as well. What was her daughter?
I don't remember.
That's the whole thing. It's been so long, and it's basically, it's like, who are you and what do you want with my mother? And it's like your mother, and then we get to see everybody's growing up. Hey, look, it's a guy from Walking Dead.
I was just gonna say that.
Every single time I see this, it's Ezekiel. No, it's actually the other Aquaman, or sorry, Aquaman, because that's the whole thing. DC made no Aquaman. That is Garth on the left and Jackson on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I know that they're going to put the genies back in the bottles, there's no way they're going to age out characters as important as Mira and Jackson. They don't give two shits about Garth, but
no. But as they said, I can't believe it. You've been gone for decades. He's like, it's only been a month or maybe 3. He said, or maybe 2. And the Aryan, the wizard, or basically like it was, just says the blue, it pulls from past and future, some form of time dilation. So Yes, we're probably gonna get them being back. So then he goes in, and then Han's like, "Steve, is that you? It's been 84 years." Literally, it's freaking MCU. Steve Rogers with his former flame, Peggy. She dies on the deathbed, and she dies. So then now it's like, what he says is he says, it says, what did he say? He said here, it's like, it says like, she's like, basically Arthur wants revenge on this, He said something. He's like, Mara dies, kisses her forehead, and then and she basically is getting chastised by his daughter, who hasn't known him because she grew up without him. And he says, like, the morning can wait. Only one other will die this day, and by my hand. He's like, all right, she's dead. Let's go kill this guy. And yeah, it's leaving out at the end. They're just gonna have father-daughter team up where they go murder someone. I don't know, but like I said, I don't care for aging up character, especially that, But yeah, that's why it's just kind of like on my list. The one book higher than that is The Bad Idea, as some would say. Planet Death, Robert Venditti, and the creator of the John Wick series. And pretty much this comes out like a Kickstarter book, the way to describe it. Right.
I think it might have been.
It might, yeah. Cincinnati Kid LLC, Office of Publication, Los Angeles. Basically, in this future, it's really like, almost like Warhammer, combined with Starship Troopers. Humans are basically conscripted to go to this planet, ice planet, and destroy this weapon. And the whole process, it's beautifully drawn. It's hardly any dialogue. So, if you're expecting a lot of dialogue, that's not this book. Very heavy on sci-fi stuff. It's really drawn well. So you're getting a lot of these splash pages in here. We don't know why, but they're going to start this weapon. They keep, like the art here, and yeah, like that. Yeah, that's his name. Derek Kolstad. Feels like it's written by Derek Kolstad with Robert Venditti supervising, because it does not feel like a Venditti book. Like I said, it's basically space marines going to this planet, and they have to get on there. They all get shot down, and then this one guy ends up being the last of his crew, and they have to take on these horde of monsters. So it's basically a giant space marines or Armorines, if you guys remember that from the early Image days.
Armorines was Valiant.
Or Valiant, sorry. To me, they're at the 90s when it comes to that. Image and Valiant weren't that much different as far as quality.
They were completely different.
Quality? Nah.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Image had the pretty art. Valiant had the quality writing. If you'd have combined the two companies, you would have had something.
Yeah, but like I said, aside from that, I didn't care for Wetworks or Cyberforce and all that stuff. I
because the writing was shit.
Yeah, even the art wasn't that great.
Well, I would agree with you to an extent. Yeah. It's some of the stuff, looking back. Not maybe necessarily on Wetworks, but some of the art that the fans were into in the 90s was terrible. It
was like the Max Bemis or Rob Liefeld art, just took over everything. Basically, this guy survives, and he's got a flashback to him and his wife and his kids. He's trying to make it home. He gets a little shot of adrenaline from his tech suit, which is basically secured to him. He wakes up, and now he sees this is what he's got to go in here and just destroy this base or whatever weapon was supposed to be in here. It's a very quick read. And at the end, I guess this shows him, his wife, his daughter, and then and this is what he's showing up. He's going to be going against in November. This giant alien queen. Like I said, there ain't much of a story. It's really all art.
Wait, a bunch of space marines go to a planet, and they have to go up against a bunch of aliens, and then there's a giant queen that they have to try and get rid of. Where have I seen that movie before?
And only one survives. This really feels like Doom.
That's okay. That might be 2 movies then, because there's another one that can't think of that other movie that I'm thinking of.
It's not Aliens, bro. Because in Aliens they didn't know anything about it. This is basically what's that, Warhammer. The way the suits are designed, everything, how they secure everything, transport them. Yeah. Instructor troopers and a mixture of Doom. So this was $6. I think it was 40. I think it was 40 pages. Did they even put the number of pages in here? A lot of it was just ads towards the end of it, though, for new books coming out for their Bad Idea. You know. So, like I said, it was an okay book. I mean, it would have been better as a movie. It would have been a B movie, but it still would have been better to, you know. But it's also basically, I just realized it's just, let's show some more previews. Okay, we got Robert Venditti coming out, Ordained, in November. And, yeah. Then you get a preview of Mike Carey and John Wasek's cul-de-sac?
Cul-de-sac, yeah.
Isn't that a term for something else?
The cul-de-sac is a street that ends in a circle.
Yeah.
Cul-de-sac is the circle.
One.
So, I don't know. I guess
the vampires live on a cul-de-sac. Yeah, like I said, that was it was basically an entire book, and like I said, it didn't sell me either.
Yeah, I can understand why. But then I got to point out to you, it is a bad idea.
Yeah, it turns out you were correct.
Number 6 this week is Transformers. It was a little bit better than that. The Autobots are being pursued by Megatron, who basically wants to destroy them. Meanwhile, you got the humans who have hold of Ultra Magnus, and the one guy's holding him. Basically says, like, I'm gonna let you go. Callbacks to an earlier issue where they come across his gravesite, like, what is this? And then Megatron finds the dead deer that Optimus stepped on in the second issue. So, and he says, talks about the difference between him and Prime, and when Prime he respects these creatures. So he says they're meaningless to him. The glory for Cybertron and all that stuff. But then the humans launch this huge attack against them, and then they miserably just get destroyed. Starscream just gets rid of them easily. We have the big giant Combaticons, the ones that basically combiners that make the giant Megazord things. Destroy them. Carly's being grilled by the United States government. What's her involvement, how to defeat these things. And she says, well, there's good bots and there's evil ones. The good ones are actually trying to help, stuff. And then we get into when the guy basically releases Ultra Magnus here. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm doing the right thing. We have no reason to hold him here. He's not a threat. And he, on the way out, Ultra Magnus grabs Carly and they leave. Meanwhile, Optimus Prime is dying once again. Second time in the book where he's dying. And Spike reached into the Matrix, and this causes basically them to be connected to the Hall of Primes before they show the actual thing. What page was that? They show it right here. Yeah, meanwhile, everybody's re-evacuating Earth. But like I said, overall, we're getting a new player in here. We also get the other guy. He's the new one created by Autobot, created by Daniel Warren Johnson, is basically sent back to Earth to help Carly because Cliffjumper decides, at the last minute to push him in there, even though they were going to put Cliffjumper back. But Cliffjumper basically didn't go back, so he basically puts his other guy back together. Here's a van. It's called the Shredder or Shred. He basically threw him back there, and now Little One's basically pissed at him. But overall, the Autobots have been hiding at this like human camp. So basically, when the Autobots first came in, they saved a bunch of people. So those people decided at the hospital to come back and actually like help them out. And they can't really do much for them, but they can hide them the moment time being. It's a good story. All right, now we're on number 5. Yeah, Magic Order. Nice wrap up to the ending. See, not like there's only one thing I didn't like about this, and I'll get to it at the very end. I thought the pairing was kind of dumb, considering who she's been with. Basically, they got this ancient evil dark like magic thing called the Bell, whatever, the Order of the Bell. They created this guy here, and he is there to defeat the Magic Order. And they throughout all of time they've been planning their revenge against the Magic Order, all this evil sect, and so that they can't basically take them on. Basically, everything they try to do is countered. And so what happens is that back in this basically hotel, kind of like those who watch John Wick, there's always that one significant hotel, whatever. In this hotel, for the Magic Order, it's a club where they're allowed to be there, but no one from other decades are allowed to talk to each other for time period. So you cannot. It's one of the rules. But Cordelia's father, who we know is dead in the present, but this is his father from the past, had heard something about his daughter. Basically, was making a scene in the hotel room, the hotel lobby, like the previous issue. And he hears what's going on, so he's like, and then he starts talking to, and the other guy's like, uncle is like, dude, we're not allowed to talk to you. The rules. He's like, screw that. My daughter's in trouble. So he decides to break the rules and gets everybody who's ever been a member of the Magic Order across time to help them out at the expense of basically them no longer having a clubhouse to basically to go to and have dinner and stuff. Yeah, so they end up basically getting together, banding behind her. That was really cool. Just bringing back a lot of favorites, a lot of people that they didn't, you haven't seen or killed off throughout the series. So they realized that the only thing that's going to stop this evil, Cthulhu thing and all this stuff, is the new guy, the guy with the hat, who basically has control of these 3 demons. And he realizes, well, shit, this is how we're going to save the day. I'm going to use my demons, the nastiest demons I know of. They freaking just kill this guy, and that's what they do. And he reveals that the only reason he got his power and all stuff, the demon stuff, is because this woman is standing in the road who turned out to be Cordelia. An older Cordelia basically caused him to wreck, and this caused him basically go to hell, and him to escape hell with these 3 demons, and now the 2 serve him. And he ends up becoming a member of the Magic Order. But for the moment part, they basically put all their power behind her wand spell, and she has the magic words. So it's just fuck right off. It's always been her thing. She's not the normal, the plays by the rules. She does her own stuff. That's why her magic words are fuck right off. And then they take out the giant Cthulhu space demon that's been like hiding like on the edge of like the light. There's always a balance between light and darkness. Basically, Null. If for those who read Marvel, the Venom symbiotes and stuff, Null was like the darkness. That's what that creature was, and they defeated him. Pretty much everyone survived except for her older self, who Bridgman is dead. They have a funeral for her, which I thought was kind of funny because just like it wasn't your normal and eulogy, because why would it be? Cordelia's always been fuck the rules. So her older self had written this eulogy years ago, which would be Cordelia's present, and since she's from the future, she had Cordelia just read out their whole entire eulogy and stuff, and she revealed stuff, even revealing that she's had like kids with people as one guy, and one in particular, it turns out to be the guy she had kids with. It's this guy here who got a second chance of redemption. He never liked, because he used to be a slave to his demons. Now the demons are a slave to him. And they end up basically getting together. She gets a happy ending where she's still doing stage stuff, but this time with her mother still alive. So she basically, her mother's helping her out. She's still doing the stage magician stuff. I didn't care for her ending up with the dude with the coat because she's had other lovers in the past that I think were better suited for her. But, obviously they got killed off, Mark. So I'm not sure what Mark's reasoning was for this, but that's the end of all 5 volumes. I recommend you, if you've never read this series all the way through, to read it. I think this is one of Mark's better series he's done.
Maybe she ended up with him because he saved her from what was supposed to be a 100% chance of death.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're gonna knock boots because of that. Maybe one time.
If he's I
don't know.
Maybe they met and
he was one of the most boring characters in the series, though. That's I never liked.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the more interesting ones.
Throughout the series, I liked the other ones, but anyway, we get advertisement for Vatican City.
Vatican City.
Did not read the last issue. Did you ever read it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Art was horrendous, but apparently there were people online who thought the art was great. The panel and stuff.
But there are people who remember I was arguing with Zach the other night about Humberto Ramos.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's the same type of people.
Yeah. It's
also, we get advertisements for Huck, which so far, I don't know. Huck, the first 2, have been all right. I don't know if I'll stick with the whole entire series. It's been kind of like an average for me, mid.
I see. That was issue 2 is my book of the week. The week it came out.
Yeah. Nightclub has been much better, in my opinion, than these other ones. Jupiter's Legacy, never read, didn't care to, didn't look interesting.
It was okay, but I didn't have. Let's put it this way. I didn't have context for Magic Order or Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Magic Order a lot more than Jupiter's Legacy.
I think,
but Jupiter's Legacy kind of ended the same way, where everybody came together at the end to repel the bad guys. That seems to be a recurring theme.
For me, the reason I liked the Magic Order because the fact it wasn't girl boss, straight up girl boss. So she messed up a lot.
No, she was a cool character.
Yeah. That's kind of what drawn me because it was kind of cool. It's and then everything out around it, the whole thing. It's the whole order. They're the last defensive line, and there's consequences she made in the first book of volume that have caught up all the way towards the end of the series, which I really liked. Also, the end, Mark's daughter.
Is there going to be a Nightclub 3?
Possibly.
Set it out.
Should be. The Mark Miller collection at the end, remember, because this is the Mark Miller book. The one I haven't read though is King of Spies. I'm gonna go back and read that.
King of Spies is good.
That's what I heard.
It's basically like if a geriatric James Bond found out every mission he'd been on
was a lie.
Was a lie, and he had to go back and fix it all. Then you have King of Spies.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice. Could have been better. But at this point, I liked it well enough. Mainly because I'm really into that kind of era, like the steampunk industrial era stuff before we started going to the 1900s. I love that we get Adam Strange do kind of the journal stuff. We have him in there at the beginning telling a story, and through him, we get the freaking recap of the first volume we read. Those 6 issues explains who everybody is. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor that pretty much through an accident created the Flash. And then we had Alan Scott being Green Lantern, and here too we have Batman, and then and just the whole thing with the.
Where am I in the recap? I didn't even make it. They did some effed up shit to me in the first volume.
I know, right? Get Wonder Woman, Ra's al Ghul with John Constantine, and it's some messed up though. And then we even have Superman because at the end of the first volume, this. Not Suicide Squad, but a merry band of criminals, which could be Task Force X. They work for Luthor. were sent to basically steal something. And along the way, they run into basically, I guess he's called the Sentinel at the end. Was that always the name? Because I couldn't remember what his name. This is the first time they used a Superman character in this.
I think they're just having fun with the names because
yeah.
Alan Scott was codenamed the Sentinel for about 3 years.
Yeah, because I know there was a Wild West Elseworlds, Superman Justice League stuff before this. So sure.
One complaint. I guess they had to remind us that Alan Scott's gay, even in the steampunk era.
That was kind of weird. I was gonna say we'll get to that, but Martian Manhunter, man, straight up demon. I was not liking this. Like, John, can you put a different form on? But here we go. We got they stole the device in here, which I believe is a kryptonite, right? I can't remember what it was. And Superman's there to stop them, but they decide to go against him. Not realizing he doesn't sound affected. It was kind of funny. I still love that chuckle, even though I've seen it before. And then was it Diablo? Was trying to make him sleep, sleepy by hypnotizing, but Clark just uses his hearing, figure out where he is, and then takes him out. We got basically infighting between the League at first, while the fire is burning down the sheriff's place, and then Green Lantern saying, basically accusing the March that his predecessor was killed by the Martian Manhunter. So those two start fighting because he thinks that Martian Manhunter is a monster, And then at the end, pretty much after they kind of fight, I mean, the art was one of the things I learned what it was the art. Art was pretty good. Is that we get basically Martian Manhunter uses his mind tricks or mind fuckery, make Oliver remember his stuff because Oliver, when he was a kid, would wear his mom's clothes, wear his dresses. I was like, yeah, I didn't need that shit, and that's what we're talking about, And then, but he remembered that. Wait, get on my head. So he does the opposite to Martian Manhunter, and because they're sharing a mind link, telepathic link. So, yeah. But Wonder Woman basically says, pretty much, boys, stop fighting, and then they kind of make up. Realize that they're both on the same side. Superman pretty much just saved everybody, and Superman decides to go get this water tower to put out the fire.
By the way, in case somebody was only half paying attention, you said Oliver when you meant Alan.
I know. Because he freaking looks like Oliver.
Well,
the beard.
You mean he looks like Oliver and he acts like a queen.
I know.
I'll see myself out. Every
time you see Green Lantern in here, he freaking looks like Oliver Queen. That was kind of being the dumbest thing to choose to have him be the Green Lantern if you're gonna draw him looking at Oliver Queen, because he doesn't look like Oliver Queen. He's not supposed to with the freaking beard. That's why I keep calling him Oliver Queen. But Lex shows up in his train. He was supposed to meet them with the Task Force S to get the device, but then he realized that everything's fucked up, and so you see Superman kind of like grabs the water tower, carries it, and then dumps the water out. And even Harley Quinn looks kind of goofy in this too. And she's like, "You're all seeing this too. I ain't having on one of my episodes, am I?" And then you got Lois saying, "Jimmy, get the camera." And at the end of this, you get Superman kind of meeting with Lois Lane for the first time. Because up at this point, it's always been Sheriff Clark Kent. No one's ever seen the Superman guy. And then Batman pretty much said, "See y'all, bitches." He took the device with them, and they're all like, "Wait, where's Batman?" He's in it, and like we could track he's moving. And of course, he has the kryptonite, which was in there, the lead thing, at the very end. And he's confronted by the League. He says like he's like Superman's like ahem. I did say there'd be a time for introductions, and and Batman's like, what are you? Not a thief, you. And then of course the other ones are able to teleport using John's or no, not John's. It was Oliver Queen's. No, it's a Green Lantern's device, his ring. And then at the end, we get this photograph. They'll take credit for basically like we're rounding up the criminals. Then we see Mercy Graves goes over to Lex. Says she's like, would you like me to spring Harley's gang or silence him for good? He's like, I would like you to stand back, Miss Graves, because what is Lex known for? Creating job, cool suits out of a train. Got a giant mech thing. Honestly, I thought this was actually really well done for being what it was. Now, I'm not the biggest Andy Diggle fan, but it's been pretty cool. Number 3. Batman Dark Patterns. Continuing the story of basically the search for the Red Hood gang, and the killer of this woman. And I don't know, it's kind of like a little bit of letdown when you find out the reason how this person was killed. This woman, she was found inside a wash machine, I think it was. I don't think it was a dryer. But can't remember. It was one of the two. But basically, Batman's going around. He spends the next couple days going through the, what's it called? The Rooks or the Rookery? The Rookery, that's what it was. Rookery. And then he gets tired of this guy, basically keeps writing his newspapers about him, drawing attention to him. And he's frustrated. He has this up a couple days, and the doctor, the good doctor, basically says, we can't learn anything about this. This group of individual, it's too far to basically destroyed. He ends up leaving after telling him, hey, check out everything again. He confronts the guy writing newspapers about him. Basically wants to know what's your angle and all this, stuff. And then this is where they're really cool about the best part of this issue. He's like, dude, you don't know anything about what that guy at the morgue, what he did? And Batman finds out that this guy's got a past. The what do they call it? The mortician? What do they call him? The guy works at the morgue. And they get these kids basically been luring Batman around. He tracks them down and finds their trail, and he comes across a shallow grave. You don't know how long it's been there or whatever. He says it's grave. It says it looks fresh, less than 200 meters from the site. The fire, perhaps another victim, perhaps an unburned body, rich with the forensic evidence. Opens it up, and while he's opening it up, someone loads their M1 or M1 Garand basically rifle. It's a 30 caliber rifle, basically, and he shoots him, hits him in the back. He says he talks about how he hears the shot. And he says it's fired from the above me, 140 east. Basically approximately 300 meters away. It's good, at least about. This is as good as it means I can pinpoint the shooter as it being located in only 4 windows that aren't boarded up. It suggests that the M1 Garand, once common service weapon for the military men, now fallen out of favor. Therefore, by the time I hear the shot, I have begun to build a profile of the shooter of my head. And virtually, in a small caliber fired from an old, poorly serviced rifle moves faster than sound, which means by the time I hear the shot, arg, basically shot in the back. Kicks on the door and climbs the stairs, all muddy stuff. Finds out, well, nope. It was this old dude. He said, dude, why couldn't you let shit go? And basically Batman deducts, you're the last remaining member of the Red Hood gang. You, but who was your connection to that woman, and then she said, that was an old dame, and I found out that she was stepping out on me. So me and the boys basically got rid of her, as a warning, and basically buried her, in that grave. And then and then Batman basically says you must have we want to respect and everything. So he's like, wait, so basically you took that body of the woman, put her inside the dumpster. He's like, yeah, as basically remind people that we're in charge here. the Red Hood gang, as a center because he wanted respect. And Batman's pretty much at this point kind of bleeding out on this guy's floor. And at the end, you see kind of Batman passed out. The two kids that were leading him before in the rookery are part of the new Red Hood gang. So I thought this was going to be the end of this actual story, but it's actually going to be another part. And going into issue 9. I really hope this goes past 12 issues. All right, last two. Is Supergirl. Is number 2. I got the Derpy Cat one. And here's the normal cover. So, in this latest basically story part, Lena has been allowing Supergirl to basically crash at her place. On this little mattress stuff, and she goes and she basically spies on her parents, make sure they're okay, because she doesn't trust Lesla, and Lesla basically notices that Supergirl's been watching her, and basically starts attacking her, and then she shoots her with a black kryptonite, which turns her into Satan Girl. Basically, her and Krypto are now Satan Girl and Satan Dog, who. Yes, and for the I don't know why, but is Krypto always been her dog, or has it been Superman's dog? I can't remember or not, because that's also been a new thing that's popping up.
Superman's dog.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering why he's flying with it, because she has Streaky too, remember? But anyway, they get turned, and basically they don't care about anything. They're all their morals off. She's enjoying being evil. And everyone's mad at her, but then this backfires on Lessel or Lyle, whatever her name is, and basically and she ends up destroying that other girl, the bad girl's lab, from her parents. She starts deteriorating as she goes on, and then she realizes that everything that's going on with this, she needs to stop Satan Girl because she realized she's really messed up. So it destroys the device that was basically hypnotizing her, Linda's parents. The end of this, and then this also, and then we get Lena, who's been working on this device using the tiny little Titano so they can shoot kryptonite. They figure that kryptonite will basically restore Supergirl to her basic or normal self, and what it does. It reverts them back, and it gets rid of the Saint Girl stuff. And then, of course, her costume destroyed. Lena throws the costume she's been working on through this issue while trying not to be attacked by Streaky, who Streaky does not like her. And Supergirl gets a new costume, and then she's getting ready to punch the girl, the bad girl, but instead hugs her because he realizes that basically it's like, I've been going this all wrong. The reason why you're acting this way because you basically are having some kind of like crisis. You're not being you feel lonely or overlooked stuff. Parents ignoring you. And at the end, well, her parents show up, and her parents apparently are just evil people. We're not really. They're from the science council in the body of Kandor, and you're like, Leslar, you are in violation of code K472, which is like forbids unsanctioned transit beyond Kandorian walls. It's a series of events. And you, Kara Zor-El, exerted undue influence upon our impressionable daughter. Therefore, you both are being brought to the Kandor for sentencing. And honestly, if I was Supergirl, I'd be like, dude, I don't live in Kandor. I live on Earth. Your laws don't apply to me. But apparently there's some kind of like unspoken code or whatever.
Well, you probably just described the first couple pages of issue 4.
Yeah.
Kara says, up yours.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But I thought this was a really good issue. I mean, I like the fact that there's callbacks to the original Supergirl stories. So. But the number one book this week, and dare I say, it's probably the best Superman book I've read since the Triangle era. Superman Here for All by Dan Jurgens. And Redondo. His first name is yeah. Also, look at this giant preview for like the next issue, 28. That's cool. Yeah, pretty much. Superman he realizes something's going on. There's a giant man, this book's freaking huge. Giant robot taking Metropolis. So he goes to fight it after telling his parents, Mom, Pa, Kent, to watch John while he's doing this, and he tells Lois to get away because he says he had a bad feeling about this, and it is just straight up, just like Fleischer levels of awesome. This Superman versus the giant robot. Everything he does is not having an effect on it, so he decides to just go super speed through it. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. So then he realizes he's talking to Lois. Lex Luthor pops up and says, and says like, "Oh, I have no involvement with him," but he says, "You know where this is probably. You should probably check out the person who's controlling it." And then Lex is as he's flying away, Lois is like, "Superman, shouldn't you wait for?" And Lex is like, "Help, not a style. Typical the loneliest being on Earth. Quite an assumption, Luthor, and probably wrong," she says. So then he goes in deep space to track where the signal's coming from. And then we get this flashback to him as a kid. And as you read this, you're kind of like, wait, this isn't how it happened. Him and Lex being friends, because this is post-crisis. This isn't Silver Age. So Lex wasn't involved with him as a kid in this. But his dad dies in a freaking tornado. And you just find out that everything is just wrong with this, and you're getting this is going on, while you're also getting the present day current what's going on with you have on the Watchtower. Green Lantern, and Black Canary are Watchtower, they're monitor duty, and then they realize something's going on, and they have to make the boom tube or Zeta beam, whatever you would call it, to get out of there. And this giant ship just destroys the Watchtower. And it is just a fun book. Every hero is involved in this DC universe. While you also got these flashbacks, which are misconstrued, of Clark remembering when he was a kid and how Lex Luthor helped him out, got him a job at the Daily Planet. And they're like, this isn't how it happened. But like I said, all of this is going on. You got these aliens attacking Earth, and meanwhile you got John, who is told not to use his powers and just go with the Kents. The Save by Steel shows up. Yeah, it's just fun throughout this. Like I said, you get all these other construed flashback and everything. Honestly, I said, this has just been so much fun, everything with this. Especially when you figure out what happened to Superman and what's, and why he's missing. And then, like I said, like all this. This was a very fun book. Yep. And especially when you find out who the villains are in this. But, I won't spoil that. But I'll just say that, though, these are post-crisis villains that they were used by Dan Jurgens in here. And they're out for revenge against Superman. I said the art is just great in here. We even get to see 10-year-old Jonathan Kent using his powers to fight against... well, at first he thought it was his other girl. And it's something tied to it, because... But Dan Jurgens was doing Action Comics when we were doing the anthology stuff, where he was on a story, and then you also had Phil Kennedy Johnson. What happened was basically he came across this girl who basically said, "Oh, I need to find your father," and and your help, and young 10-year-old John's like, "What?" Then he realized he is duped by her, and she tries to kidnap him and all this stuff. That's the girl. So this is just tying in post-crisis, going right into Rebirth. And them just you get to see here, John being saved by his dad, everything, you know. And I'm just kept thinking, like, why don't we see Pa Kent if Pa Kent supposedly died in the past? So you kind of realize, you go read this, there's something going on with this, and Superman's missing. The League is basically being rounded up by these aliens that could basically are falling, and then yeah, it is just great. And it kind of ends with this, them just basically rebuilding Metropolis in the other parts of the world, because it was a world invasion. And then if you want, like, in the back, there's like Superman movie posters and all that stuff, talking about the new movie. So yeah. Let me continue. 1087. You know, all that stuff. So this was $15, worth every penny. Like I said, one of my favorite Superman stories.
Yeah, Henry, it's the old Treasury size
Nope.
when we were kids.
Yep, they're old Treasury size. Because this is a normal book.
And at first I thought, wow, the last time I bought a Treasury, I think they'd gone all the way up to $2.50, and now they're $15. But when Treasuries were $2.50, new comics were 25 or 30 cents. So I guess it's all relative.
And here's the thing, though, when it's written really well like this, it's worth the $15.
Oh, it is. It's just weird to think of, that they'd be that much, but like I said, that's way less in proportion to how much regular comic books have gone up.
Yeah. So like I said, favorite book of the week and probably of the year so far. Right? That's right, Coco.
She's agreeing.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next?
Jeff, you want to go?
Oh.
All right. Goodbye, Jeff.
All right. So, light week this week. I only had 6. Got this. Number 6. Batman and Robin. Number 23. You know how they say that some guys are writing for the trades on a story?
Mm-hmm.
I think this guy is writing for the freaking Omni. The story is going on so long.
You're going to miss it after next issue because it wraps.
It does?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I wouldn't have, if they'd moved on to another story, it would have been better, but yeah. But if they're, this is, I don't know how many issues this story's been going on, but it's been going on for a while. They're still working on trying to find whatever the hell his name is.
Memento,
and the teacher and
the fresh villain maker.
Yes, and they, the kids are. You find out that Memento has been possessing people, and that's what Etrigan helped them find out. You have the kids. What are the irregulars?
Gotham Irregulars.
Gotham Irregulars are down there looking for Robin. They help find him. They fight off some bad guys. Whatever yeah. And they reunite, and Batman and the girl from his past get down there. They find him, and then they reunite. So I was thinking the next issue was going to be wrap it up, and it turns out that it will, because next issue is the last issue. It was okay, but it's just taken on way too long.
That's not bothering me because I think it's very well written. So it's when stories drag on forever and don't go anywhere or say anything. This one seems to do both, so I don't mind that it's.
Yeah, and I do like what they're doing with. They're adding kind of a fresh take to Damian.
Yeah, far less dickish.
Yeah, and he's actually, looking for other things to do than do this. He's like, oh gee, I can help. I mean, reading Thomas's journal, like, hey, I can put my stuff to this. So he's, they're showing some good character development on this, and they're actually getting the relationship between Bruce and him a kind of a working on. Oh, whoops!
Coco just pulled the phone down on her head. It startled her. See, that's what happens when you play with wires, silly.
She's trying to phone
Oh.
The
home.
last thing she saw was Jeff's image. And she went,
Now, again, there are people who want to end it after seeing an image of me, but number 5. We've gone over this, so I don't need to add anything extra to it. He was pretty right about that. Number 4. Surprised you didn't get this. Green Lantern Corps, number 6.
Why would you be surprised? I've vocally said numerous times that I hate the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I got the first 2 issues, and then after the Guy Gardner story, I just didn't really care anymore.
Well, I guess I either forgot or wasn't paying attention, or both. And so
Who are you again?
What?
Who are you again?
or maybe you just forgot to pay attention.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
But so you have Guy Gardner getting not Guy Gardner. Jeez, I'm getting old. Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart for the Daily Show.
Yeah.
With JoJo Mullen's fine ass. And Kid Lantern.
He's sending Sinestro out to investigate something, and he gets a new kind of assistant to go. He agrees to take him. And,
that's the chick from the other planet, but she has a red lantern.
Yes.
Really, just the Sinestro chambered.
And her name is Vexaru, VEXAR''U. And then Cruz and the other girl are looking at Mongo, and it turns out that he's trying to heal. So they have to fight him to help him heal, or allow him to heal, while Sinestro is off dealing with what he's dealing with, because they need to get some nth metal to help repair one of the lanterns, and he has to go up against his kid and who's the other kid?
Oh yeah, it's Zod's kid. Zod and Sinestro's illegitimate bastards.
Yes, they're kind of in both senses of the word, but they've helped fix the planet, and they're all pissed because he's wanting to come and take the stuff, and so they have to try and figure out a way to do it after them fighting. And Zod's kid falls in love with the girl because she's a badass, but they solve it at the end and get everything taken care of.
Boy, there are going to be some heads rolling at DC.
Why is that?
The practicing of heterosexuality.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're in trouble now.
But then there's advertisements for this.
I didn't even realize that was some kind of video game.
So
I don't know. I have no idea.
Which one?
Oh, I guess play now for free. So yes, I guess it would be. Worlds Collide.
Oh yeah, that's it. I was showing that in the Superman stuff. All the ones in the back of the DC stuff. The only Worlds Collide I know is the song. Are you ready to go? Are you?
But there's also an old movie, When Worlds Collide.
Yeah, Power Man 5000, I think it was called, was the band.
Which is one of them is Rob Zombie's younger brother is a member of that one.
Yeah.
There's also the movie When Worlds Collide, which my father took me to see when I was a kid, playing at a obviously a second run theater.
I thought that was the World's Fair when you were a kid. That's
3. Slasher's Apprentice, number 3. That was not on purpose that it was a 3.
that's
It was a 3.
what we always want. We'll see the viewpoint of a serial killer. Bring an apprentice. Wait, that's Nemesis.
But what she does is they go and get they go back to a hideout. And of course, this slasher, he doesn't talk. And she's wanting to say, hey, look, we have to update because, you can't just go to these parties and do things. We have to try and update. So she's going to, make plans on how to do things. Say, here's how we're going to do this. They get a truck, and then they go out to this place and try. There's a play that she wants to kill all the people in it and show it online to spread fear that way. And he jumps the gun and just starts to try and kill people ahead of time. And they have to deal with that. And she gets a little whiteboard so he can communicate with her. And so they're just planning out their new way of doing things. And
The girl who fell in love with a serial killer?
what?
Serial killer is the guy, and then the girl is the apprentice?
Well, she wants to.
Or is she a fangirl?
She's a fangirl of serial killers, and this guy was supposed to be of slashers. And this guy was one of the greatest, but he disappeared for a long time, and now he's coming back, and he's out of practice, and he's still doing things like the old-fashioned way from like the 80s and stuff.
I feel like he would just kill her.
He might. You never know.
Like, not because I don't want this where like Saw starts a trend now, where it's like the girl like is like, you're gonna be my apprentice now. No more apprentices, just kill.
Well, in this one, she came to him.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Oh shit! Oh, you're the next victim.
She could be, but you never know. And I've never seen any of the Saw movies, so.
Oh yeah. There's one girl in the beginning who she's the girl from Becker. You ever watch Becker?
Yes.
She was like the assistant nurse, She was the ditzy one.
Not Terry Farrell's character, but the other one.
Yeah, she was.
Okay,
Yeah. She ends up becoming like one of the victims in the first movie. Only you find out that she actually survives, and she becomes his protege, the Jigsaw's protege, and takes over for him. Yeah, it was like what?
Well, after you get to a certain point, they have these of all of these movies, they just have to come up with these more and more convoluted plots.
So who takes over for Michael Myers after he ages out? Michael Myers, 80 years old, still killing people.
He's definitely not going to be running after the bitches on that one. He's going to be like, eh.
Why would he? He'd have a scooter. Beep beep.
You know why none of the slashers have to run after the girls who are running, right?
Oh, it's in the script.
Well, no, because all the girls they're running and they never chase after them because they know they're going to trip because bitches always be tripping about something. Okay, sorry.
All he has to do is be the curb.
Number 2, and I wasn't sure about this until I read about this on the stuff that you guys get your comics off. What is it?
League Comic Geeks?
Yeah. No, the one every week on your Tuesday show.
Yeah, it's League Comic Geeks I use.
Oh, okay. But it's called Wild Animals. Or what?
Yeah, I read that online because my shop didn't carry it. So I wasn't a big fan of it, but maybe you were.
I I liked the story. My only issue is the art.
Yeah, the art's very, very indie. What you see in the cover is what you get in the interior.
Yeah, but there are some stories that I don't want to say forgive, but not be as critical.
Yep.
Because let's just say if it's an image thing, it shouldn't be in there like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Cave, I think they do a little bit more, and they can be a little bit more forgiving. And I have no idea who this person is. I don't know if he's a.
They all look like new writers to me.
Yeah, and so you got to get them start somewhere. So I'm still not super impressed with the art, but it didn't bother me as much because I guess this is new stuff. My only problem was at first you couldn't tell whether this was a guy or a girl.
Yeah, long-haired dude. He's got like some burned because his dad was killed by his people, and they were gonna throw hot water on him, but instead he hit the kid when he was younger, so he's lived with this burn. But it looks like he got attacked by a squid.
Yeah.
The coloring
so what happens is we've got this guy. His name is Derek or whatever. It's not important.
Yeah, mom's in a hospital.
His mom's in the hospital and she dies, and he's basically lying to her about his prospects in school, just because she wants him to but he's working at a convenience store.
Is it a convenience store or is it a gas station?
Kind of like a 7-Eleven where there's a gas station and a convenience store type thing.
Yeah.
But his father had been a cop, and his partners were corrupt, and they came in and killed his father. And then his mom and him had to run to get away from him. And she didn't tell him what was happening because he was really young, because she didn't want him to go after the cops. Well, it turns out that she's been lying this whole time, and they changed his name. And after his mom dies, and he gets attacked by some people in the store.
Well, it was more like he gets a call while he's working at the gas station. These kids are going to rob him, and he's got he's going to go down to the hospital before his mom dies. But they beat him up, and they cause him to basically miss his mom's death.
All right.
So, and the kid keeps talking about how he's a loser, how he always got bullied as a kid, and now he's coming back, and it's just like, and he snaps.
Yeah,
so,
because he had realized that he didn't do any. He's been he's in his however age and still working at a quick stop type thing.
Oh, it's Ed Brisson is a writer.
Yeah. I don't know who he is.
He's written some Thundercat stories. I've been reading it.
Last thing I read of his was something Salt and Sea that was really good for 4.5 issues, and then he went woke AF to close it out.
Yeah, he's been
Sins of Salt and Sea, I think it was called.
Yeah, he wrote Old Man Logan. He had some work on that. He also worked on Prophet for Image, Rat Queens, and Silverhawks. His Thundercats have been his latest thing. Which Silverhawks, I think, might be over. I'm not sure if that's even come back. I haven't heard anything from that. But
so the thing is, they come back, they rob him again, and he just snaps because his mom died. He missed getting to see his mom died. They come back, he sees him, he beats the shit out of him, and he finds a box that she had, and turns out that she had changed their name. So he gets to find out what his father's real last name was. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go kill these people. And that's where this one leaves off.
Yeah. Ed Brisbane's claim to fame is Cosmic Ghost Rider. And then he wrote Iron Fist and Extermination.
Did he write some? He wrote some X-Men too, right?
I think so. Look. Yeah.
Then my number one. And I know you liked the first one, so I was kind of surprised you didn't get this one. Blood Tap number 2.
Well, I am missing 4 books.
Ah.
That's why it wasn't in there. But I did read it, though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's still a continuation of she's on the island, and she has this kid that she's going to be his. She grabs this kid who is going to be her kind of assistant, and she's feeding, and she's tired of all the people that she had killed on the ship, and actually likes the taste of this blood because it's not a bunch of sweaty, salty guys, and basically spends the issue trying to. You find out about her history, that some vampire had, been, I guess, hired by her parents without realizing that that there was a vampire because she was being curious and reading. And he says, I can give you some freedom. And he takes her off to, give her some lessons and all that. Turns out he's a vampire, and she starts to move, say, hey, I want to be changed, and, yada, yada, yada. Kills the guy after she gets changed, and now she's off trying to be on her own. And she's on this island where people are supposedly getting killed by tourists, or getting killed by creatures, but turns out there's a vampire on this island that is killing people, and she needs to figure out who it is because
the human that she pretty much was using for information, turns out he's been lying or playing her, sets her for a trap, and and she almost gets killed. So now she's basically gets picked up by this woman who's driving to work, and she learns that that human didn't tell her the truth, told her half truths. So now it's gonna be her, and I guess you get to hear of her origin story too, which is really why I did it though. It was like written in a storybook mode.
Yeah.
Like shows the book, like the creeper guy would be like, for creep or those older books, the horror ones you like. He has the host, and he has the book, and they shows the book, and it shows the little photographs, and it says a story.
And it's done in the same art style as the rest of the book.
Yeah. So I thought it was actually done pretty well, but I think it's only 3 issues. I think. I don't know. I can't remember how many issues it was supposed to be.
I thought that it was going to be an ongoing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. To answer your question about him, Brisson did some X-Men stuff. He did Age of X-Men, Next Gen 2019. He did Alpha Flight 2019, and now it's 2023. The Astonishing X-Men, yeah.
Oh, that was okay. That was after a long time after I had stopped reading X-Men.
Dawn of X of Swords was his storyline. Yeah, it's just like, yeah. So Ed Brisson was doing all X-Men stuff, basically after it went to shit, 2017 and on.
But then I also went and saw this, and
cool.
We can talk about that later if you want.
I'll just say that I watched the movie and I thought the treasure was better. I had more fun with that. But
the treasure?
Yeah, the Superman Treasury.
Oh, okay.
Hero for All. I thought that was way better. But maybe I shouldn't have read that first, then watched the movie.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but there was just so much wrong with it.
There's nitpick. But like I said, for me, it was a super mid.
The broccoli haircut, I hated it. The suit, hated it.
Yeah. All right.
Other stuff, but
Mr. Breen.
I kept expecting Superman to start booking AEW matches.
Now that you mention it, yeah, I can see your point.
Wow, that's not even close to being the right call. Challenge that.
The umpire.
Oh yeah, it's the Yankees, so they're not going to overturn it. But they threw the guy out at home by a good chunk, and they called him safe. Let's see what happens here. Throw beats him by a mile, and he just didn't. He missed the tag. Son of a buck. All right, number 10, Planet Death. It just wasn't my thing. Sure. Yeah, the art was good. The story for what it was was fine, but it just didn't resonate with me. Number 9, blood type, kind of the same thing. I'm not. I'm clearly in third place as far as liking this.
It's a slow burn with hardly any action.
Well, I'm just it's the attitude on the main character.
Yes.
It's just nothing. Yeah, nothing is anything other than food for her. And I said, there's nothing more to her.
I guess wasn't her
if
story
there was anything she gave a shit about other than her next meal, it's just like she's, I don't know. It just seems like it's just there's nothing.
She's a
nothing
negative.
to get, no reason to get behind this character. Yeah, not even enough to just want her to get killed off because she's just.
So it sounds like she's negative, and that's her blood type.
Yeah. Number 8, Green Lantern Corps. This isn't a bad book, but you can definitely tell that Morgan Hampton is doing more of the writing than Jeremy Adams because A, the characters that he's spotlighting, B, Jessica Cruz has to get validated over and over again. Mm-hmm. That's a trope of SJW writers. I'm not saying Hampton is, but it's Coco, cut it out.
Like me looking at that cover, that's all I want is them fighting Mogo. The whole entire issue. I don't want
to. Jessica, I think, beats Mogo by giving him a hug or something. It just, I'm not going to stop reading it, but like I said, it's a distant second among the Green Lantern books. Number 7, Gotham by Gaslight. It was a fine issue. Just basically it was a recap and setting up the second arc. Okay, you can chew on my shoestrings. You can't chew on the. All right, so and we went over that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the next 5 issues go.
Yeah, I want to see what happens to Oliver Queen in that.
Yeah, number 6, Batman Dark Patterns. We talked about that.
What do you feel about the old man being like creating a whole new Red Hood gang?
Well, why not? Yeah. Leave a legacy.
Right? I thought Joker was the Red Hood legacy.
And number 5, Magic Order. It's a very satisfying ending. Like I said, it seems to be a thing with Mark Millar. It's like getting the gang back together.
It kind of felt like his last big event he did, big game.
Well, I would say, like I said, Jupiter's Legacy kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
But I said, if this is it, it went out on a high note.
Yep.
Aquaman. I agree with Venkman. But like I said, I think what's going to happen is they're going to de-age, Garth, Jackson, and Mira, but leave the daughter an adult. I just have that feeling, but
I mean, I don't want Mira dead in the universe. That's
no, and they're not going to do that.
Yeah,
there's no way. She's too important a character. Isn't she in the JLA? I mean, everybody else is. Number 3, Batman and Robin. So Jeff talked about this. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this ends. I mean, I came back to this book about halfway through the story. So if there have been clues, if like sharper readers are supposed to know who Memento is, I don't know who it is. Or I'm just not sharp.
What is this? Memento?
Memento, but we're going to find out.
Oh.
In the next I already made the joke. Number 2, this continues to impress. I will give Sophie Campbell, who I have trashed in the past, credit for figuring out that it's okay for a comic book to be fun. It's so many books. I mean, there's a book can be enjoyable and not fun, and this is a rare example that proves that they can still be both. I mean, it entertains. It's got a good story. and it just has a sense of fun. And I wish more comics would follow that. Number one, clearly I said, best book I've read this year. I said, Dylan, the real comic book gamer who does Wes's show about twice a month, says best thing he's read this year. I believe Venkman just said that. It's, I called Jerry on the way home yesterday and asked him if he'd been out to the store yet. He said no. Talked him into buying it. So he appears to be glad that he did. So I said, when you can recommend a $15 book and, it better be good.
It was super good.
Yeah. And I picked up the Fantastic Four 7
cool
facsimile. It's crazy when you think about the early days of Stan and Jack. Issue 4, he brings Submariner back. Issue 5, creates Doctor Doom.
Yep.
Issue 6, they team him up. Issue 7, Kurgo from Planet X, never to be seen again. It was like one of those 50s sci-fi stories that Stan and Jack and Stan and Steve used to do.
Yeah.
Only with the Fantastic Four. Next issue, you get the introduction of the Puppet Master, and then another Doctor Doom story. So I mean, it's like in between that first creative burst, you get this. I said, Kirk, it's a clever story, but it has one of those, suspense story twists at the end that all their stories used to have back in the 50s.
If they didn't croak him off at the end of that, he might be back in the future, Ryan North.
I don't think so, but I just find that amusing, considering how like I said, two issues after, or the first issue after the two issues that introduced the most enduring villain in Marvel Comics history, you get this throwaway that's never seen again. I mean, hell, they even brought the Miracle Man back. 2 words, not to be confused with the Alan Moore character from issue 3 back in like Fantastic Four 135. But poor Kurgo never got the call back.
Dang.
But it was good. Yeah, I did have a handful of books that I hadn't shown yet from. I think
gonna take your time. I don't think Zach's showing up, but I think he's probably watching the movie.
Yeah, I'll blast through these real quick. There's not many left, but this will wrap up the stuff from the show. Chamber Chills 14.
Nice.
Fantastic Four 137. Submariner 32.
Cool.
They introduced the woman that ends up killing Dorma.
Yep.
Issue 66. There's Thor 199.
Nice.
Tomb of Dracula 35.
Is that Brother Voodoo on there?
Sure is. Here's Dracula 37 or 36. Werewolf by Night 11. And Graphic Man will be glad to know that this has Gil Kane interiors as well as a cover. I think that was the only issue of Werewolf he did. There's issue 38. Where Monsters Dwell, number 22.
Yeah, it's Electro. The brother of Electro.
K.
Yeah.
Batman 310.
Nice. Gentleman Ghost.
Who's that? Who's the white guy?
Gentleman Ghost. Here's Forbidden Tales of the Dark Mansion, number 5.
Never heard of it, but it looks good.
Nice. Well, they're Forbidden Tales. That's why you didn't hear of it.
It was gothic romance.
Okay.
But they were very good. Here's Dark Shadows, number 11.
I've never seen an episode of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of the comics?
No. I haven't seen the show or the comics or the movie or
Confessions of the Lovelorn 92.
Nice.
Falling in Love number 42, I believe.
Nice.
It's the one I read off when we were reading last week. Girls in Love. Girls Romances number 32.
Dang.
Hey, how come they allowed you to get it if it's girls' romance?
Really? That's the joke
that
we're
was
going
bad.
with.
All right.
Just made, but she's looking at the best man.
I don't think he did, Henry. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. Here's Love Diary, I think 74. Secret Hearts 136.
I've got his whole run in behind me if you guys want me to take a look. I mean, but
Time for Love. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this may have been, I know this was the last romance comic that DC published. It's like Young Love 126. But that is it. That's my
All right.
all from the show.
This might be our shortest show ever. You know what? Zach, I remember Zach saying he wasn't getting his books, possibly.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
Or they weren't going to be able to read them or whatever, but
Yeah, but I thought he usually told me he wasn't going to see his stuff until later. And then E is going live now.
For what? Talk about Superman.
Superman.
Maybe Elle will come out of retirement and join him.
I wouldn't be put it past him. He's been very outspoken about how he didn't like the movie.
so
Here's the thing, though, and here's one thing I'll say about the Superman movie. With this going, for me, Superman movie, I'll just say without any spoilers, is that I agree with Gary. They're neurotic. I thought it was a very okay-ish movie. It's just that for being a James Gunn movie, it felt short of what James Gunn could do. What he did with Guardians was way better. This kind of felt like James Gunn didn't really put too much effort into it.
Well, I think Aaron Sparrow had a good point though, about it. Is they're not going after us. They're trying to get a new generation of kids interested in Superman, and that's why there was so much of the dog. And I guess I haven't seen the movie, but it's
the dog was heavily in there.
that was one of my main issues. I hated the dog. I absolutely hated it. I found him so annoying.
Well, the dog wasn't trained, so he couldn't control the dog. The dog kept hurting him and causing stuff. And then dogs would do. Dogs do. They chase, things in the movie. Like I said, it just felt very kind of mid, kind of blah. My biggest issue is that the guy playing Superman does not look like Superman to me. Not even. He looks like Superboy.
I didn't like the suit.
And Clark and Lois they're already together, and she already knows that Superman is Clark Kent. So we're kind of going past that's his origins.
I kind of like that actually, because we've seen every other way there is to present them.
I just felt like this Lex though wasn't a good Lex.
Oh, he's my favorite. I was
He's better than Eisenberg. But I'm just saying, he's no criminal mastermind like Gene Hackman.
Well, no, those are two separate Lexes. Hackman was the Golden Age and Silver Age Lex.
You know
this guy's supposed to be the post
of my favorite Lex Luthers. My favorite Lex Luthers, other than Gene Hackman, going the modern stuff, Kevin Spacey.
Oh no. See,
Kevin Spacey felt like Lex Luthor. He had that kind of evil persona.
This guy is so. I mean, you take a look at him and he looks exactly like he's supposed to. Like he doesn't count. And the only thing I didn't like was that little thing at the end where he was talking about. I don't want to give away too much on that one, but his motivations. That's not.
He has a temper tantrum, and I didn't care for that.
And Okay, now you've seen this part in the previews. The interview between Lois and Clark as Superman, where he starts to lose his temper. That's not him. He wouldn't have lost his temper like that. And the same thing happens a little bit later with Lex. Superman is a lot more aware, cognizant of that, and he wouldn't have lost his temper. So
he has in post crisis, he has lost his temper. He actually has thrown desks and all that stuff, and so he's done it in post crisis Superman. But I always felt that post crisis Superman was an older super version of Superman. It wasn't a younger like they're doing it here. It just felt like a year after Superboy became Superman or so. I don't know. Like LK was trying to say, it felt like it was like Superman year 3.
Yeah, they say that at the beginning. He's been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah, but I don't know.
This is my favorite Lois. I really like the Lois, except for a couple things there. The Lex was fantastic. I didn't like this Superman. My 2 favorite people in there were Mr. Terrific. I loved
Mr. Terrific was spot on character. It's just that he was just missing his jacked up physique that he had in the Goyer run.
And I don't know whether, and I think the Lois was the last half of the movie. The Lois was pretty good, but I did not like the Jimmy thing. They just made Jimmy look like a giant douche.
Yeah.
How does this movie begin?
Begins with basically him. The trailer is where he calls Crypto. He crashes in the ice. He calls Crypto to get him, and he has to get healed. And then you learn about something from his parents' message, and then of course, after that, he goes fight Metropolis. He gets his ass kicked again, and then it's just like
he spends the first 3/4 of the movie getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but overall, like I said, yeah. No, I can't go any more spoilers until I do a review. But
yeah.
But like I said, overall, I understand they're trying to go for a post-crisis kind of Superman feeling, almost like the Superman animated series. So kind of like them. So I understand that they're trying to go for like the millennial versions versus the people who are.
That explains the haircut. But
well, yeah.
Now, okay, I'm gonna have to be very careful with this question. The conversation at the very end.
With between who?
The blonde and him.
Eve Tessmacher?
No.
And Jimmy Olsen?
No, at the very end.
The only blonde I know of that was in there was Eve Tessmacher, and then Cat Grant.
Okay, then you didn't. The owner of the dog.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, Supergirl. So Supergirl is kind of written kind of. If you've never read True Grit, this is how she is. She's an alcoholic. She goes to other planets, and
I've never known her to sit there and use that type of.
As I said,
kind of a bitch and using that type of language. I mean,
But overall, I want to go further into it, but we'll end it right here. Like I said, I still think it's going to be a banger hit. I think it's going to make more money than Fantastic Flop will make. But I think it's the people who don't read the comic books will enjoy this movie.
How would you put it in comparison to Man of Steel?
Oh, I hate Snyderverse, bro. I was not a fan of that. But the only thing I liked about Snyderverse was that Cavill actually looked like Superman.
Yeah,
acted like Superman. Yeah. Other than that, I did not care for like any of his movies because the fact that it wasn't Superman. Henry Cavill said he wanted to basically do Christopher Reeve type Superman, but they wouldn't let him.
One of the problems with this movie is speaking of the Snyderverse, they not as bad as BVS, but they did some BVS in there by putting too much stuff in there.
Well, here's the thing. No, this stuff wasn't actually. Here, I'll address this. If you're afraid that this is overpacked, it was handled well. As far as that, there wasn't too many characters in there. The only problem is that these characters felt like, for those who watch Black Adam, the JSA, they felt as unemotionally bland as those characters. But
I might
anyway,
have to see it again, but
yeah. But I know where Breen's like, I don't care.
No, I do.
No. Like I said, it's not woke. As because remember that right now Variety, all that ad came out and said like Superman is pretty much like as far as it goes with it's all about immigration and all that stuff. It's like, no, that was his Sean Gunn being his liberal doofish self, and he's in the movie for like 10 seconds as Maxwell Lord, and I'm thinking like, why the fuck is this guy even in the movie other than his brother?
Well, that's he's
Maxwell Lord's not a dweeb.
He's Ron Howard's brother. It's
have you guys seen The Terminal List?
No.
I'm not sure if it was Terminal List or if it was Reacher, but I remember like Sean Gunn was in one of them, and the guy basically humiliates and makes him strip his clothes, and he just it's just like it might have been a Reacher. Now that I think about it more, so and Sean Gunn is not a fun actor to me. He's a dork, but. Jimmy Olsen could have been handled better, but with his personality, they kind of did with the way he treats a character in the movie, was kind of shallow and kind of mean. And here's my thing: if you have a girl who's really hot, likes you,
yeah,
but
at least use her for the information.
But like, here's my thing: is like, if you're like, well, I don't want to date her. I'm like, you used to date her ex-girlfriend. You don't explain why you broke up. But I'm just saying, like, this girl's a Victoria's Secret model, and you don't want to get back with her. Are you gay? But anyway, yeah, we're gonna end it on that. Yeah. So, yeah, but overall, I said I thought it was an okay movie, but I'm not gonna say it's a horrible movie. It could have been a whole lot worse. But
yeah, it was better than I thought.
James Gunn, when we see what James Gunn can do his movies, Marvel, this felt like a letdown, a super letdown. And I'm going to end it right there. So we will see you guys tomorrow night for another reading of some sort. I'm not sure what it is going to be, but we'll plan it out tonight, I guess. If you haven't done so, please hit that like button, click, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out our past videos and stuff. And we'll see you guys later. Back tomorrow night around 8 p.m. Eastern for our first reading.
Later.
Alrighty then. Real quickly, Henry says, Breen, my mistake. John Byrne on FF did not bring back Kurgo. He brought back the Infinite Terrible.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Later, guys.
Good night, kids.